Right, here is the Dvar Malchut of this week. This is a speech given by the Lubavitcher Rebbe in 1991 in this week's Torah portion, Parshas Emor. This is a continuation of what we talked about last week. If you remember, what did we talk about last week? The most important topic in the world. The most important topic to every human being in the world. Most vital topic there is. And that is Moshiach. Moshiach is going to bring a person that's going to bring out the true good in everything in the world. It's going to show how precious this physical world is. Moshiach. And that process that Moshiach is going to bring is called the Geula. Geula. Geula means, loosely translated in English, redemption. The Jewish people got out of Egypt is called Geula. Geula, going out of Egypt. Going out of falsely imposed limitations. Geula. When the Jews got out of Egypt, they left Egypt physically, politically, but they didn't really go out of their personal limitations. They still had Egyptian mentality, Egyptian emotionality, if you want to call it. They didn't really want to be free and make choices or proper choices. The Jewish people, when they did make choices, they made the wrong ones because the choices that they made came from selfishness. So they didn't lose their selfishness. They were still prisoners to their own, they're called devices, to their own fears and lusts and desires and things like that in Jewish people. So Geula means we will not only be free physically, which we already are, but we'll be free also, how do you say, spiritually, you want to call it, emotionally, mentally, and purposefully. Our purpose will be different. Maybe we could take the simple example. The land of Israel. The Zionists, when they took over the land of Israel, why did they do it? They did it for themselves. They did it for themselves. Finally, we'll have a place where we can be free. We won't be threatened. We can live. We won't be killed by the Nazis, by the who knows, by the Russians, the pogroms, the Ukrainians. We'll have our own homeland. We can just do whatever we want to. At least we'll be free. But the purpose of the state of Israel was for yourself. It's for us. You like to be religious? Be religious. You want to be not religious. Whatever you want to do, you can do. The purpose of it is for yourself. Yourself. That's what it is. Geula means to go out of that false narrative, to go out of being selfish. What are you supposed to do if you're not selfish? To live everything for your creator. God is creating us, and he knows what to do, right? You ever created a heart? You ever created a lung? You ever created a liver? You know what a person is without a heart, a lung, a liver? That's it. He's gone, right? We can't ever create a respiratory system, a circulatory system. Never created that. He knows what he's doing. Created. That same God gave us the Torah. He's a living God. He's creating us right now. The Torah is relevant right now. Go according to the Torah. That's why Jews are supposed to be in the land of Israel. Totally not selfish reasons. That's what holy means. Holy means you're not selfish. You're doing everything for the Creator. That's what holy is. Holy temple is only for the Creator. It's a house just for the Creator. That's what the Geula is. The Geula means that everything will be free to serve the Creator. Okay, so that's what we said last time. To make this Geula, to make this change in the world, is a very, very subtle thing we have to do. We don't have to destroy anything in the world. All we have to do is just put a little bit of light into the world. an aleph into the word gola. The word gola is exile, and the word geula is redemption. All we have to do is just put an aleph there. After the gimel, put an aleph. What do we say that aleph? Just add on an aleph. Zemevateh, this expresses the tochen shel geula of what we have to do. I mean, the problem with this is, of course, is that this idea is so tremendously, on one hand, subtle, small. All we have to do is make a little change, and the results will be so totally incomprehensible, totally, how do you say, mind-boggling. That was something that's never been before. All good will be revealed. What does that mean? You know, and that it can be accomplished like this. It's like, it's evasive. It's like we can't put our hands on what we're supposed to do. And even when we know, it's hard to believe that it'll have an effect. It's hard to believe because we don't really understand what the goal is. What do you mean everything in the world is going to reveal its potential? It's not there now. What do you mean? Oh, yeah, revealing potential. That's like the atom bomb. Huh? You realize the potential, there's big explosions. We don't want that. What does it mean to reveal the potential in everything? What does that mean? What are we supposed to do? The good which is found in everything. What does that mean? We're supposed to reveal. So maybe we can express it in one way that we see that the world is changed by certain individuals. One guy, let's say, I don't know if this is really true, but Edison figured out how to use the light bulb, and Ford how to use the car, and somebody else figured out how to use the atoms to use atomic power, and another person developed a cure for this disease and a cure for that disease. Now people live, they live, instead of dying at 60 years old, they die at 90 years old. Life is more meaningful. In other words, there's certain individuals, geniuses in music, geniuses in art, making the world more beautiful, more pleasant. Geniuses. Well, everybody's a genius in something. Sometimes smiling at a person, saying good morning, having a good attitude to other people can do more than Edison did with all of his light bulbs and all this. Could be. So everybody has a genius inside of them that has to be revealed. And that's what we're working for. Says the Rebbe, how to do it? It has to be done through the Torah. And it has to be done with thinking about God. Three things all the time: God and us and the world. All the time, on the terms of the Torah. Always thinking about that. That'll bring the big change. Says, and it's supposed to come. It has to come. It's promised that it's going to come. That's what reality is. So it says, and therefore, this is the whole idea of the redemption more than the other languages of redemption, which are in Parshat Va'era, right near the beginning, second chapter of the book of Exodus. So it says, God promises Moses, I'm going to take you out of Egypt, and he uses 4 languages, 5 expressions of redemption. Lakachti, Hotzeti, Go'al. One of them is Go'alti. Go'alti means I will redeem. That's one of the other 5 terms of redemption, but the other 4 are not commonly used. The one that's commonly used is the word Geula, because it shows something, how we can bring about the Geula, the redemption. Namely, 4/5 of that word is exile, and we just have to add something. So that's showing on the future redemption, the true redemption. Zui, this is the redemption, this is the Geula. The call in Yanagol is that everything in the world which is in exile, everything in the world which is the good of it is not revealed, will be revealed. Everything. Every human being, every inch of land. Geula lo sholelet, the whole idea of Geula, the future redemption, will in no way negate the serving of God, what we did in exile. It'll elevate everything up. You made money, you'll have your money. You have a house, you'll have a house. You have children, you'll have children. You have accomplishments, you made music, you made art, you made whatever's buildings, you did good things. All those things will remain. But they'll just be revealed more by means of bringing this aleph of the alufo shel olam, of the alufo. It's called the master of the world. The word aleph, we're going to see, it means 3 things. 3 things. One of them is an aluf. In Israel, for instance, a general in the army is called an aluf. Aluf. Aluf means like a general, a master. All you have to do is just bring the Aleph, the master of the world, into Gola, into the exile, Shakodesh Baruch Hu, to let everybody know that God, He is the boss of the world. He is the conductor of all the world. The world is God's world. It's not our world. So number one, the exile will remain. We'll just put the meaning into it. And number two, Agula Nasid, this future redemption will be accomplished by means of our work now. That unusual thing that we talked about in the previous class, that we'll use our free will to serve God. Just like the word Geula is coming from the majority of the letters is the word Gola. So our work that we do now in exile, that's what's going to bring the future redemption. That's the big novelty. That's the big novelty of Abraham and Isaac and Jacob, that they defied nature in order to bring the creator of all nature into the world, to bring the creator into the creation. The Nitakev, first of all, says the Rebbe, let's explain a few details over here. Shiasifa's brother, we can explain what exactly we have to do. Because right now the Jewish people have been suffering and serving God for thousands of years. You think it should have happened already, this redemption. For some reason it hasn't, says the Rebbe, okay, but can't give up. We have to continue the work, and I'm going to tell you explain a little bit more about what this Aleph is that we're supposed to bring into the exile, that all of a sudden everything in the world is going to start shining with meaning and with joy. Hachirish el Geula, the whole novelty of the Geula, the redemption, namely bringing the Aleph into the exile, ubeshnei anyanim, in the two ways we said before, namely that we'll realize that everything in the exile was really good, but we didn't see it. We have the good, the godliness will be good. And number two, that our work now in exile is what's going to bring this about. We can see immediately, we can see it from the first redemption, going out of Egypt. That's why the first of the 10 commandments is, I am God that took you out of Egypt. It's coming to tell you that there's going to be another one. There's going to be another going out of Egypt. But it won't be physical. It won't be that Jews are going to move from one place to another. Nothing is going to change physically. In Egypt, everything changed physically. Everything changed. Massive miracles, plagues, splitting the sea, bread from heaven. Amazing, massive miracles occurred. In the future redemption, the physical world will remain the same, exactly the same. Later on, there'll be the raising of the dead, it says there'll be. But what? There'll just be a change in the quality of everything, the meaning of everything. The ground will be more fertile. The air will be more pure. People will be more positive. The Geula, this future redemption, is stressed by this. Shenosef al zeh shekol ben Israel, that all the Jewish people came out of Egypt. Ben areinu b'zkenenu, our youth and our elders, our sons and our daughters. Now let's talk about going out of Egypt. From that, we're going to understand what the future redemption is going to be. All the Jewish people went out of Egypt. The elders, the youth, the men, the women, the children, and the daughters, the sons, the daughters, b'shlemut, completely, and they came out with all of their riches, like it says in the future redemption, that will go out with all of riches. People are not going to all of a sudden become, zombies or monks or something like that. They're just going to be happy with nothing. Namely, going out of Egypt, that the Jews were redeemed, and also all of their properties were redeemed from exile of Egypt. Like it says, that they took out from Egypt, that they requested, they borrowed from Egypt vessels of silver, vessels of gold, garments. The garments were worth more than the silver and the gold. The Ruknu at Mitzrayim, that they emptied out Egypt. They emptied it out. And later on, it says that, 1,000 years later, something like that. Anyway, the Egyptians came in front of a king. Was it? I guess when the Roman king, whatever, and they said the Jews stole all of our money. It says in the Torah they stole the money, and so the Jews sent a person to to debate them, Gavina Bar Psisa, something like that. And he said, hey, we worked in Egypt, it says in the Torah, we worked over there for 400 years at hard labor, 600,000 people. And we didn't get paid anything. We didn't get paid anything. It says in the Torah, we worked for 400 years at hard labor, 600,000 people. Multiply that. How much we have coming? I think we came out, you still owe us something. So it says, nevertheless, they emptied out all of Egypt. They made it like a big, a silo that has no wheat left in it, and like a fish pond with has no any fish, no fish. It says, and Erev Rav Alaytam, and there was also all of the Egyptians that were a little bit relevant to become Jews. They converted, they came out also. In other words, the Geula was the redemption, the redemption back then in Egypt wasn't just going out of Egypt. Ella Geula Gam the Mitzrayim Gola Atzma, that they took out people from Egypt. They took Egyptians out also. And they also took the properties of the Egyptians. So the Jewish people didn't just redeem themselves, that they became less selfish and they became devoted to God. They became God's people. But also the property of the Egyptians became the property of God's people. And even Egyptians themselves came out and became the property of God. So they moved from being Egyptians, the value, the material things that they had, the properties and the riches, instead of being trapped in Egypt, they became freed also. Why? Because of Haknasas V'Gilei Aleph, because God came and revealed himself in the exile. The Aleph was the Aluf Shalom. The Tachlit and the purpose of this was created for God. They took off all the gold and the silver in order to use it to serve God. That God created gold and silver and these things, and he gave it to Egypt in order that the Jewish people would refine it when they left Egypt. You're not by means of this will be afterwards the promise that God made to Abraham at the Brit Bein HaBetarim. He's made a promise that to Abraham, your offspring are going to be slaves for, it says over there, 400 years, and then they're going to go out without tremendous riches. Until Hashem Natan, that God put until what did I do? Until Hashem Natan et Chena'am Be'enei Mitzrayim, it says that God put the favor of the Jews in the eyes of the Egyptians. Suddenly the Egyptians liked the Jews, and they forced them. It says the Egyptians forced the Jews to take their properties. And the Jews, first of all, they said, listen, we're leaving Egypt. Can you loan us some money? And the Egyptians said, oh yeah, we'll loan you whatever we want to. In fact, here, we'll loan you more than what you want. And the Jews that were supposed to only be gone for 3 days, they tricked the Egyptians. You're going to say, hey, that's not nice. I mean, why did they trick them? It says here, look, this shows you that the Jews are trickers. It says, no, they were just repaying the Egyptians back for what they did to them. The Egyptians tricked the Jews into serving God, I'm sorry, take it back. They tricked the Jews into serving the Egyptians. They tricked the Jews. How did they trick them? It says at first, Yosef came down to Egypt with his brothers, and they saved Egypt. They said there was a worldwide famine, and Yosef gave Paro the advice, save up all of the wheat that's in the good years. There were 7 good years. Save up all the wheat, right? It's going to be 7 years of famine. Says, hey, that's a lot of wheat. And to save it up, 7 years of wheat to save up. That's a tremendous amount of wheat, let's just eat it with, no, said Yosef, listen, I'm telling you, these are good years, but they're not going to last. Save up the wheat for 7 years worth, and you're going to see. And sure enough, after the 7 years was a famine, and nobody had anything to eat. That was in the first year. All the food was gone. And the only place that was in the whole world was wheat was in Egypt. And everyone came to Egypt, and they gave Egypt all of the money. Egypt had all the money in the world. Everything. There was no food to eat in the world. That's what the Pharaoh was, of course, indebted to the Jews. Thank you very much. You saved the world. You saved Egypt. Egypt became a superpower because of you. But after a couple of generations, all of a sudden they forgot about this, and they said, Pharaoh came to the Jews and said, listen, guys, we want to build, what do you say, big cities. We're going to pay you really good. Pay is really excellent, and you have to work. And I'm going to show you how much work. And Pharaoh himself worked. He took one of these bricks, put it around his neck. This is the bricks you have to make every day. And he worked. And then came the end of the week, and the Jew says, where's our pay? And Pharaoh said, next week. I'll pay at the end of the month. So the Jews worked. What about, where's our pay? I'll pay at the end of the year. Pharaoh said, the Jews came, but that's too much time. Work. Okay, the end of the year was, I'll pay at the end of your life. You know what? I won't pay you at all. And that's it. The Jews ended up working at hard labor for 210 years. They never got paid anything. But Egypt had all the money in the world. Right? All of a sudden, when the Jews were leaving, so now they tricked the Egyptians. They say, you tricked us, now we're going to trick you. We're leaving for 3 days. Don't ask questions. We want to borrow gold and silver. The Jews said, we'll take everything out. We'll give it all to you. Even things that the Jews didn't request, the Egyptians gave to them. The Egyptians themselves. This teaches us also that they forced the Jews to take their riches. The Jew says, I haven't got any, I don't know, we'll give you donkeys. Here, take my donkey. We'll take. At first glance, the Shema, why do the Egyptians have to hurry up to give from their vessels to the Jews that are leaving? Why? This is against the nature of a person. And number two, the commandment that the Jews had to request from the Egyptians. This was said to the Jews. The Jews, they had to request, not the Egyptians had to give to them. And number three, after God already broke Egypt by means of the 10 plagues, is why all of a sudden the Egyptians, they liked the Jews and they gave the Jews. All of a sudden, all the Egyptians, they should have been bitter about the Jews. You wrecked our whole country. So they liked them. Ella, but since that the future redemption, the meaning of future redemption means also an elevation of Egypt. Means that the Jews were not just freed from Egypt, they had to also elevate what they could from Egypt. Al Yadeya Hakara, by means of the recognition that all of them recognized, even the Egyptians, they recognized that God is the master of the world, Umani Golam, and he conducts the world. And the Egyptians, because many of them were very wise, the Egyptians were tremendous geniuses, they were very spiritual people. So they understood, finally, sof. They understood that there's a master to the world. The world is just a creation. The Elu Shalo Chazu, and those that didn't see and feel, but they had a sense. Something's going on over here. The Jews are connected to some sort of a power which is not natural. It's not a God. It's not a God like we recognize. A gods that we recognize, they work for our good. Here we have a God that's creating the world. He's creating everybody, not just for us. All of a sudden, the Egyptians knew, I am God. I am creating everything. Look, and therefore, you said this was, they had to be done, the poil, and it was done, Lobal Korcha de Mitzrayim. It had to be done that the Egyptians, not only did the Egyptians give their money and their garments, but they also gave themselves their will. They desired the Jews, Baratzonam. They, on their own free will, because that's the whole essence of this world is free choice. The Egyptians on their own, with their own free choice, they forced the Jews to take their riches. Hashem natan lam chena am beinei Mitzrayim. Says because all of a sudden the Egyptians, they liked the Jews. Ad she'af ma shelo sholim, even things that the Jews did not request, they gave to them, and they forced them to take. Al derech says similarly, it's also understood what's going to be in the future, redemption. The Geula, that is similar to what they took from Egypt, ad legeula mitit, until the true redemption and complete redemption. When they got out of Egypt, so they got to Israel, and we see that they didn't do what they were supposed to. The first temple was destroyed, and then the second temple was destroyed, because the Jews just didn't do what they were supposed to do. So God didn't say, okay, that's it, I'm finished with the Jews. Right? Even though he threatened it a lot of times, right? He threatened it as soon as they worshiped the golden calf. But because they were always great Jewish leaders, So God always said, "Okay, I'll give you another chance." So now here we're experiencing this another chance. The last 2,000 years since the second temple was destroyed, but the future redemption is not going to be like going out of Egypt, and it's not even going to be like when the Jews left Babylon and they built the second temple. It's going to be total, complete. That the whole entire world is going to desire on their own to serve God. Aliyah, and that's it says here, says that in the future redemption, like the days of going out of Egypt, I will show you miracles. Just like the miracles when they left Egypt were total surprise, is what the miracles we're going to experience now, that everyone's nature is going to change, is going to be also a total surprise, even bigger. Shaya Nikra Geula, that's why it's called Geula, because the whole idea is the Goel, to free and to elevate everything that's in exile. And by means of this, that we reveal in it the one, the master of the world. And specifically by means of our service in exile, can we reach the redemption, the future redemption. So it ends with the exile is a good thing. Because of it, we can come to this higher redemption. Even though if you ask me, it's not a good thing, but didn't ask me. There's a lot of suffering going on, a lot of pain, a lot of difficulty, a lot of confusion. There's going to have to be some really massive miracles in order to explain the things that are going on now, but it's going to happen. It's going to happen. Okay, we're going to continue this tomorrow, God willing. Please come. Now let's have a Yom Yom.